Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I am Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Mary Javian, who serves as the chair of career studies at the Curtis Institute of Music. Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aaron. It's great to be here.
So I'm so excited, interested to talk with you. Obviously, issues surrounding career development, entrepreneurship are very, very close to my heart. Involved in some of that work, obviously here at the University of Michigan, and so excited in terms of this work that's taking place at Curtis, who is one of our great creative partners and helped us to co-curate this show, especially about this important issue. So I thought I'd first just kind of start out that, kind of my sense of the field is that it's really in the past, kind of 3 to 5 years almost, that a number of music schools, conservatories have really begun to go deeper into entrepreneurial opportunities, curriculum for their students. And just kind of wondering if you could kind of start out by just how do you view that, and how do you view the importance or role of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial studies at conservatories or at music schools?
Well, I've been doing this work at the Curtis Institute for 7 years now. And I agree. I think that in the last, 3 to 5 years, especially, there's been a lot more focus on it. And of course, now after these past 2 years, I think everyone is trying to prepare students for the future that lies before that is not maybe as certain as we thought it was. And so my belief is that really entrepreneurship is creating value, and that for students in music school, it's helping them find a place for themselves in this world that creates impact for themselves, but also the community around them. And that is a really exciting thing to work on with young students, talented students. But it is a different way of looking at things. And so one thing that I feel the past 2 years has done for me is really focused me as a teacher. I think I've become a better teacher because instead of trying to get too quickly to an idea or a project, I've really been spending more time with students trying to figure out what it is that they see for themselves and help them have kind of a vision for themselves using music in some way. It's kind of like if you're in a rehearsal and you try to get to the exact right answer or exact right phrase too quickly, you lose a lot of possibilities and you lose a lot of the creativity that the music could really project. So if you're too quick to, say, have an idea or go to the first idea, you might miss some real opportunities. So I've gotten a lot better at helping students think about many, many possibilities and looking at the world from a lens of a plentiful opportunity rather than scarcity. Unfortunately, in classical music, I feel like we struggle a bit with a scarcity mentality that not only just the constant, classical music is dying and that sort of negativity, which of course isn't true, it's just changing. So helping the students to really find a place for themselves in that, but many, many different places all around them, I think has been rewarding for me and makes them feel more empowered about their futures, that it's up to them and not whatever audition that they happen to succeed at.
Totally. And I love that, especially in terms of how empowering these skill sets are for them. And it seems that regardless of, a lot of people like, oh, it's the, orchestral track, the solo track, or teaching, and higher ed track. And my sense is that even in each of those areas, and then of course the myriad of other things, these skill sets are now critically important, whether you're going to be in an orchestra, whether you're going to be a soloist, whether you're going to ultimately be a professor, or of course, what so many musicians follow is some hybrid now that they often create. Do you find that students are beginning to explore these hybrids, or how do you see it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the big difference from when I was a student at Curtis, is that now not only is it acknowledged that people often have hybrid careers, or what we at Curtis often refer to as portfolio careers, but that's actually desirable for many reasons. And so on a practical level, a portfolio makes more sense, almost like financial investing. If you've got a variety within the work that you pursue, there is actually more stability in that than putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
But I think the more important point is that it is more artistically and personally satisfying to be able to affect change in different areas and to contribute in different ways. Because, smart and talented people want to always be growing and want things to grow with them. And that doesn't mean this work is not an alternative to something like an orchestra job or being in a quartet or being a soloist. It's just part of it now. And I think that people are embracing and celebrating that finally, which is so wonderful to see. Because when I started off in my career, I knew I wanted a portfolio, and yet I felt like I had to hide it. So I was very, had different, things I would talk about to each professional colleague. I would compartmentalize. And that was the way in which I, felt I could be taken seriously as a performer, but as someone who was also leading projects involving social impact. So that's really, I'm so glad that my students don't have to really struggle in that way, that people are understanding that. And it should be said too, it's not just music, it's all fields. The future of work is changing rapidly, and people are not doing one thing anymore in any field. So there's a lot more moving around. There's a lot more flexibility that people want in their lives to piece together a life that has meaning and also sustains them.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. And so I'd be curious, so a number of our viewers, are out there, they may either be at schools, institutions that may not have gone so deep yet, or they're looking to say, is there ways we can grow these opportunities for our students? If you were kind of sharing with them, is there any kind of core things as you look at, say, the curriculum that, you oversee and have developed at Curtis, to say, as you think about this, here are the core components, at least, that we think about and that kind of drive our strategy to empower our students?
I mean, I would really encourage people to look at flexibility and try to increase flexibility within a curriculum as much as possible. Because if you are just adding to the long list of things that these young people are expected to do, it can be very overwhelming. So, for example, if your school is completely based around the orchestra, and that is the most important thing, and the schedule is centered around that, plus they have rigorous academic classes, rigorous musical studies, lessons, recitals, you have to make room. You can't just add. So one of the ways that you can make room, I think, is to just be creative about how you implement classes. We've done everything from mini courses to mentorship programs where a professional musician, Midori, Jonathan Biss, they've been mentors in the community arts program at Curtis. Aaron, you were one of the first speakers for that program. And professionals come in and work with the students, but then the students are able to develop the project on their own time, but it will require mentorship. So the flexibility to have some things that are synchronous, some things that are asynchronous, and then great people that are out there doing it, mentoring your young people I think partnerships outside of your school are often a great way to connect your students to the community they're living in, so they don't just see the bubble of their school, but the greater city. And that was one of my great joys graduating from Curtis, was that Philadelphia is an amazing city. And, learning that while still in school made the transition to the real world so much easier for me because I was already meeting people outside of the conservatory.
Right, absolutely. Well, this is just fantastic. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time, but I always like to ask, especially for all our guests who are in these extraordinary leadership positions where there's tremendous responsibility, significant impact you're bringing. There's got to be some tough days where there's challenges that seems like they might not be able to be overcome. In those moments, where do you turn for strength? How do you kind of gain inspiration yourself in the toughest of times?
Well, I've always found inspiration in art, often outside of music. I find that I come to other art forms in a fresh and new way, or other styles of music outside of classical, which happens to be the majority of my playing. But if I go to an art museum, or if I talk to a colleague, um, like in this project Rehearsing Philadelphia that we're doing now, most of the artists are not in the classical sphere. And it's given me so much to work with artists like Zoe Keating and, Tyshawn Sori, and people that aren't genre specific. And that really inspires me. So I think we just have to keep reaching out to other art forms, and really inspiring people that keep us going, because it has been definitely a tough couple of years, and especially for young people. So we have to give them that grace, say that what you're doing now is good enough, but help them transition to a period that will be very plentiful in their lives, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Mary Javian, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It was a pleasure.